Welcome to the Venusian Academy. My name is Silvana, and I want to dive today into a deeper exploration of Pink Tantra because I've made a lot of content specifically speaking to women. I had a phase and a season inside of my teachings in the Venusian Academy that were specifically for women, and I was like very focused on that. And a lot of things have happened in the last few months that have really opened me up, and I received the calling that it is time to begin diving into this beautiful path connected to masculine energy as well. I think that I needed to set the foundation of like, this is what Pink Tantra for women is like. And then now it's like, this is what Pink Tantra for men is going to look like. The type of Tantra that I've created is called Venusian Tantra. This is Venusian Tantra because this is the Venusian Academy, but it's feminine centric Tantra. Right? Venus is the significator of woman, luxury, softness, all of the beautiful and delicious things in life. So it is a tantric path that is rooted and founded in this like beautiful essence of the feminine. Now, the whole term Pink Tantra is technically not a Tantra, right? Like there is, we have black, red, white Tantra, and then we have Pink Tantra, gray Tantra. These colors, there's no book about it that dates thousands of years saying like, okay, this is what the Tantra looks like. It's more of an informal way of categorizing all of the different tantric systems that exist. Basically, white being the spiritually centric Tantra, red sexual, black power related, and then Pink Tantra is the middle path between white Tantra, the spiritual centered Tantra, and then the red Tantras, like the sexual Tantras, right? So and whenever we dive into all of the philosophies, tantric philosophies, there is a bunch. We have Taoist and Hindu, and then Shaivism and Shaktism and all of that. So this conversation is not gonna dive into those schools of thoughts of Tantra, because what we're doing here is using the principles and the foundations of what is Tantra, which is weaving, interweaving the union between my divine masculine and my divine feminine, and we're applying it into a modern context. This work is for the rebellious souls. This work is for the people that don't want to, step into anything old because it doesn't really resonate. This is more for those of us that just did not find anything that exists already out there, and it's just a tool to be able to guide ourselves, working with our sexual energy and create an inner union. So whenever it comes to Pink Tantra, I've gotten a lot of questions over the last year about like, well, I see all of your content is for women. Is Venusian Tantra or Pink Tantra only for women? And no, it's not. It's for men as well, but it's going to be very different the way in which it's approached. Because it is different, I didn't want to create that confusion. So what we're gonna do today is kind of go over the differences, and then I'll give you like the most important foundations to practice Pink Tantra if you are a man and you don't wish to practice under any specific school of Tantra, but Tantra in general. So let's start. First foundation in this work is that the center, the core of the spiritual system is Shakti, the divine feminine principle, divine feminine. Right? The divine feminine is everything that is. The divine masculine is the observer, the awareness that witnesses the divine feminine in action. So if this is a path that is centered in the divine feminine, that is where my worshiping energy goes towards. It's like I worship the divine feminine in humanity, in the world, in divinity, in everything that is. And there are tantras that are more centered in the divine masculine, so definitely check those out if that interests you. But if so far you're still here and this is still piquing your interest and you want to dive deeper into it, the most important thing to understand is that the difference between the two, between men and women practicing Pink Tantra, Venusian Tantra, is that women are supposed to connect with their sexual energy and let it guide them. So I connect with my sexual centers, and then I witness and I follow the snake. I've talked In previous classes, I've taught on workshops about, the symbolism of the cross, for example, in Christianity, and how we have the horizontal and the vertical meeting. And horizontal energy is the feminine energy, symbolized by the snake, because the snake moves horizontally. That is also in the East considered the Kundalini. And the Kundalini is supposed to rise, right? So raw, feminine, wild energy from nature is horizontal in nature. Following the path of Pink Tantra for a woman is related to connecting to that energy, removing all the inhibitions that exist between you and that raw sexual energy. And those inhibitions, by the way, are usually, family belief systems, cultural, they are, religious in nature. That's what we kind of have to get through. Like, that's like the first, demolition process. And then we surrender into the flow of that sexual energy. Follow the path of excitement. Observe what is it that, arouses me, and then use that energy to bring my awareness into it. And in that, I'm weaving my inner consciousness, my divine masculine, with my divine feminine. This is what Tantra is about. So I unleash my sexual energy and observe it. I'm not saying you are physically unleashing it. I'm saying this is, this is about removing, transcending, alchemizing the fear, the shame, and the guilt that exist in a woman's sexual centers, so that we can really connect with that energy, observe it, and then follow it. See where it goes, see what it does. The masculine path under Venusian Tantra is the opposite. It means that it requires the awareness as well, but control. Basically, I'm not gonna just unleash my sexual energy and let it follow me everywhere. It means that I'm going to observe my sexual energy and begin exercising control over it, so that I can learn to direct it into the Shakti that I desire. It is a path of mastery. And naturally, whenever we look at, I'm going to generalize a lot, so please don't get triggered. This is just so, it's a teaching to create generalizations. But when we look at like men and women, not like normally, speaking in a very stereotypical way, men are more sexual and kind of like loose with their sexual energy and lustful, and they just go and sleep with whoever. And women tend to be more frigid, reserved, no, like that's kind of, that's the generalization that we see, the pattern that we see in our species. So Tantra does the flip, because if you're a woman and you are on this path, it's like, how can you learn to trust that energy, let go, flow with it, let it be your guide? And then with men, it's like, how can I not be enslaved to this energy, but instead learn to take reins of it and then control it? That's the word that I'm gonna use, control. I also know this word is triggering for a lot of people, but that's the mastery essence, right? The tantric man is able to control his own sexual impulses, because those are like the demonic forces of the ego that are just like uncontrolled. I control that, and I let my raw, pure, creative sexual energy flow in the direction that I choose to turn into. Because when I choose that direction over here, and I put my focus and my attention and my awareness and my empty consciousness into it, and then I unleash in a controlled way, because I'm not just going all crazy, in an uncontrolled way, I know exactly where my energy is going. Therefore, I can observe its reflection back to myself. And this is the most important difference in tantric work for men and women. That's why we have to keep them separate, and whenever it comes to like the sexual aspect of it, and like the consummation and the union between it, it works well if we have this polarity. And that's a different conversation, because that will land under tantric sex, right? But this is more like tantric practice in general. So the mantras are also different that I like to use between men and women, because if I am working with a man that is in a tantric path, we're working with Shiva energy because he wants to embody that Shiva energy. But then with a woman, it's more like finding the goddess that is the most recurring, the one that is channeled more efficiently. And by the way, every woman is naturally doing this, even if the name is not, if we don't have the label to it, if we don't have the even if we haven't assigned like, oh, that is, Matangi, that is Bhuvaneshwari, like, even if we don't ever know those names, like Shakti is the power of Shiva. It is the universe. I'm choosing that word because out of all the religions in the world that I studied, I haven't studied them all, but like out of all the ones that I studied, which are like the most common ones, I think like the one that hit it on the nail for me was the 10 Mahaviryas. The 10 powers of Shakti. That feels like the most complete explanation of divine feminine energy. So for a man to enter into Venusian Tantra, and begin practicing this, the most important thing is to like begin noticing where do you lack control over your sexual energy. I'm going to give you a very easy example. You go on Instagram and there is the nice ass right there staring at you, and you're just like that flow of lust. You didn't have control over that because you didn't go before opening your phone. I'm going to open Instagram, and whenever I see that specific picture, I'm going to unleash my sexual energy. What tends to happen is like the world is constantly stealing sexual energy. The tantric man cannot be shaken sexually. He is only shaken whenever he chooses. So it is a highly controlled path that requires a lot of inner stillness, a lot of purification, because again, just like women have been deeply conditioned, so have men. We all have deeply conditioned. Finding our truth and ourselves and spiritually freeing ourselves is about the deconditioning process of like removing the layers, the onion, and just layer after layer after layer of all of these programs, limitations that tells a certain thing. And one of the most dangerous programs that exists for men and young men out there is the fact that the more sexual energy you release, like the bigger man you are, when in reality it's like you're depleting your life force. And that life force, that's your energy. That's your precious, sacred life force energy that you can use for your creations, for your manifestations, for more health, more wealth, more expansion, to create community, to, embody the type of masculine archetype that you want to embody in your life for other people around you, to individuate yourself as a man, which means to separate yourself. There's this competitive principle in masculinity that, too many men together, men that are deeply masculine, it's a little bit because it's like masculine energy is about, it's the tip of the arrow. The tip of the arrow is just one point. Where feminine energy, we look at a pyramid, for example, the masculine part of the pyramid will be the tip of the pyramid, and the feminine is everything that's under, right? So the feminine thrives in this union because it's this fluidity of just flowing into it. But masculine energy needs that direction. Keep in mind, both men and women, we have both energies. And the irony is I'm talking about all this feminine energy, but in this moment, because I am teaching, I am embodying my masculine energy. When I work with my clients, I'm embodying masculine energy. And this is the dance of Tantra, is that both energies live within us, but the thing that anchors us is our gender. See? That's the key of this method of Venusian Tantra. That is okay, we have a body that doesn't change. It changes, but that doesn't change naturally. Whenever naturally you're born a woman, you die a woman. You have a yoni, you will die with a yoni. So it is a way of anchoring down into material reality, and then from there you can explore the duality of masculine and feminine energy, having always a point, a space to come back to. This allows the exploration. If you're just exploring and our genders were to change as our energies change, then we wouldn't have two genders. We would just have one. We would be hermaphrodites, embodying both genders. And I'm sure there are some beings out in the cosmos that live in this way, that experience this, but not on planet Earth. On planet Earth, we're here to experience duality. And one of the most obvious dualities that we have is this masculine and feminine separation. So Tantra is a technology of weaving together that separation within ourselves, Manifestation of it is through sexuality, but it is a path that starts in the heart. It is something that is a relationship with yourself and your own divinity. The way in which you're going to be able to see the fruits of this path, if you're a man that chooses to practice the Venusian Tantra, the feminine centric Tantra, is by observing the woman in your life. Every single woman that crosses your life, your path, it's like that will give you a constant mirror to just observe and notice. And this creates the mastery and your own organizational system, because then you can start determining like, life is showing me a particular energy. I see this now. This path, like if there is a lot of resistance towards feminine energy, or there's a lot of unprocessed trauma that you have with women or with your mother, this might be too triggering of a path. This is if you have a natural inclination, love, and connection with feminine energy to a point where, there is a natural tenderness there, a natural devotion. If you as a man feel a natural devotion towards feminine energy and you want to explore it, then this path is going to be so fruitful. So if you want to learn more, make sure to subscribe. Stay here inside the Venusian Academy so you can learn, and make sure that you check out my description box below to see different resources that I have. A little note on that is most of the stuff inside the Venusian Academy I'm going to be speaking to women. I think it's good that you listen to that, because if this is a dual path, it's like, you're just teaching yourself the opposite, to observe, to witness, to control. So it might be worth the exploration to do that as I start creating more content exclusively for men. But then for now, you are still welcome. And if you have not subscribed, make sure you do. Maybe I already said that. Like this video, please interact with the algorithm to help me out. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.